What is going on, guys? Everett 13. I realize it has been about a year since I have done a overview, tabletop review, whatever you want to call these things, on a knife. This is just a hobby for me. I work a regular job. I don't sit around all day making content, and a lot of times it's easier just to make a short video, make a little post for shorts. And I realize it's been, well, like I said, about a year since I've done one. I've still been, of course, carrying knives, trading knives, and changing up my collection a little bit. But this is the first knife in quite some time that I have seen that I immediately said, I've got to have one, right? And so I'm hoping that since this is a relatively newer offering, of course it's February, well, almost March, but 2025, there's only about 80 of these, I believe, that have been made to date. So with that being said, of course, I had seen the Mojave and immediately said, I've got to have one. And right out of the gate, I get this thing in and I'm blown away by the packaging. I don't buy knives for the packaging. I don't think anybody does. We buy knives for the knife themselves. But I was very impressed with the packaging on this knife. You've got a really nice 3D printed kind of case here with the, of course, Mojave across the top. And you've got a little screw mechanism here that, oh, by the way, well, there's your tool. So that's really cool that they include one, right? You get in here, though, and throw this over here. You've got a really nice presentation. You've got some, they include some lubricant, which is a nice touch. They include, of course, the spec card showing, the details of the build. This one, of course, is MachineWise model Mojave. This is the number 24 variant. Well, not variant, but this is number 24, serial number 24 with the turtle handle texture. So really cool. And then you've got, of course, the knife itself. Let's go ahead and get this out because that is what we're all here for, right? The Mojave, like I said, immediately saw it and said, I've got to have one. I mean, it's an attractive knife, right? But right out of the gate, one of the first things I did, well, let me back up. What I want to do is take you through this as, the same way I experienced it. That's why I started off with the packaging, right? I usually don't do that, but this one was an exception because of just how nicely it was done, right? But immediately, though, I knew what the knife looked like, but I'd never handled it. So immediately when I pick this thing up, I'm blown away by how lightweight it is. So just to go ahead and put that into perspective, here is, of course, I'm borrowing my wife's food scale here, but here is the Mojave, 3.6 ounces. Now to put that into perspective, here is a McNeese Mac 2. As you can see, the Mac 2 is actually smaller than the Mojave, right? Mac 2. 4.5 ounces. Let's do another one that I think is a little more comparable in size to the Mojave. We've got a Usler Duck here. 3.9. So this thing is very lightweight. They've done quite a bit of internal milling, as you'd expect to get there. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up, but very, very nice surprise immediately was the weight. That means this thing's going to carry good. And of course, they've got a really nice carry clip on here. So this thing carries like a dream in the pocket. What do we do when we get knives? If you're like me, the very first thing is you want to give it a nice reverse flick, and oh my God, right? The acoustics, the action, it's all there. It's pretty much everything that I was expecting whenever I ordered this knife. And I was expecting a lot, right? Some of the things I weren't expecting were the attention to detail, the packaging, right? The micro milling on the blade. I hope this shows up. I'm probably going to have to find, there we go. I'm not sure if you can see the micro milling on the blade. that was really a nice touch that I was not expecting. That really adds a nice dimension to the knife. It looks like maybe the light's going to wash it out a little bit here. Let me see. I'll try for a little bit longer, but there's really nice micro milling across this top swedge here. The blade is mirror polished. You do not get that typically with knives. Yes, you can get knives with mirror polished blades, but typically manufacturers are going to stop at about a 1500 grit blade, 1500 grit edge, somewhere in that range. You know, they're not going to spend the extra time to get it to, they're not going to spend the time to get it to mirror polish, because usually it's sharp already at that point. You know, they're just, to get it to a mirror polish is really somebody wanting to really take care of the end customer, or really put together a nice piece with some attention to detail, because a knife is already sharp well before it gets to mirror polish. So that's a nice touch, right? The action, incredible. I mean, smooth. Look at this, smooth action. The acoustics. I'm gonna be quiet and just flick this thing a few times. Because I hope that the acoustics come through. There's a really nice ping whenever you deploy this, and even whenever you drop it closed. Not so much there, and maybe it's because I kind of put a lot of force whenever I flip it. Not so much there on the flip. It's still there, but I think you get a more pleasant ping with the acoustics whenever you really do the reverse flick. Overall, I mean, just a fantastic knife. Like I said, everything I expected this to be, and then more, because of the, you know, the little attention that was paid to the details. You know, the micro milling on the swedge, which I still have not been able to show you guys. My goodness, I want that to show up so bad, because it is very attractive. Oh, you can kind of see it there. You know, beautifully done. The mirror edge, right? The attention that was paid to the details on this knife, you can really tell that they take pride in what they have put out. Now, nothing is perfect, although I think this is one of the better knives I have ever seen, ever. All right, but there are a few things that I do wish, if there's a later iteration of this, maybe a V2 variant. This lanyard loop is, I mean, it's kind of out there, right? I mean, I don't like really how big this is. Honestly, I don't even think it needs a lanyard loop, right? This is, to me, a fidget, you know, EDC knife. I don't know how many people are putting lanyards on this knife, but, you know, it's there's nothing wrong with it. I understand that some people like it, but for me, this is a little bigger than necessary, I guess, is what I'm looking for. The flipper tab has just a smooth surface. Now this one I'm kind of torn on, because the smooth surface means that it is smooth, right? It is comfortable. There's no sort of discomfort ever on it. I do notice though, it's, you know, it's not, what am I looking for here? It's not a failure, but I do wish there was maybe some micro milling or something here, just to give it a smidge of grip, because it does have a little bit of a slippery feel, right? It's comfortable, but it kind of has like a little bit of a slippery feel. It's really hard to describe. Now, the one big thing that I just feel like was such a missed opportunity was, you've got the shape here. I wish they would have done a front flipper. You've got, I mean, it's there. There's no blade stop back here that would have interfered with that. Extend that another, what is that, 1/4 of an inch, and now you have just a fidgeter's dream, right? You've got reverse flick. You've got, well, goodness gracious. You've got the flipper tab. See, I was kind of slipping off on it there a little bit, which I think I was adding a little bit of pressure to the lock bar. I don't do that much on this knife, but you could have had a front flip. It's the design is there. I don't know why that was left off. I feel like that was such a miss here on what is otherwise a just about, I think, a perfect knife. You know, it's going to carry well. It's got good height so that it's very comfortable in the hand. It's got a finger choil. It's got jimping across the top of the blade. I mean, this has just about everything you could ever want in a knife. And it is honestly one of the best knives that I have ever seen, in my opinion, for what that's worth. But yeah, guys, the MachineWise Mojave, certainly it's early in 2025, but this is certainly one of the best knives I've ever handled. And it's probably going to be one of the top contenders for knife of the year. I mean, look at that. I mean, you can see that it's just a beautiful knife, right? It's sexy. This thing is sexy. So yeah, guys, MachineWise Mojave. Let me know what you think. You know, if you can, get your hands on one. I think you'll really like it. So, guys, thanks for listening to me ramble. You know, I hope that maybe I've given somebody some information they didn't have, or, you know, maybe somebody was wanting to see somebody's thoughts and opinions on this knife. I don't think there's a lot of videos out here, out on the internet yet of this knife, just because of how few of them are kind of floating around. But yes, if you see one and you've been kind of on the fence for one, don't hesitate, grab one. I think you will be very happy with your purchase. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. As always, stay sharp.